I'm Jackie Doucette, and I'm on a mission to discover exactly what life is like beyond retirement. Join me while I chat with people who've already done it, who've retired to something rather than from something. Let's find out together exactly what's waiting for us when we say goodbye to that 9 to 5. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Beyond Retirement. I'm really excited about today's guest, Daniel Mangena, because I'm really interested in hearing what it is he's actually doing. Daniel's an entrepreneur. He's a motivational speaker, a philanthropist, a best-selling author, and he's a qualified reality transurfing practitioner. His work's been featured in major publications all over the world, including NBC, CBS, MarketWatch, and Fox. And he was also recently included in a feature of the Wall Street Journal called Masters of Success. And through his work, he aims to serve and uplift the lives of as many people as possible, helping them to live abundant, joyful, purpose-driven lives. So Daniel, thanks for being with me today.
Thanks for inviting me to hang out. It's cool to be here.
Wonderful. So I've read all this stuff, obviously, word for word from what I've been given about you, but I don't know anything other than what I've listened to on your podcast, and I've kind of surfed through your website a little bit. I'm really interested in reality transurfing, but I'd like to start with how you got into it before we get into too much about what it is, if that's okay.
So reality transurfing was something that a friend of mine was like, hey, I found this book. I think you're really going to like it. I was like, okay. Well, I listened straight away because the last time someone did that, it took me 2 years to read it and the book changed my life. So this time I didn't wait. I got on and I read it, and it was Reality Transurfing, books 1 through 5 by New Zealand. And I loved that it was practical. I loved that it felt like it was ahead of the journey of where I was going with my own work. And I loved that it worked. And so I spent some time digging into it. And then after some time was able to get certified by the International Transurfing Institute as a certified instructor. So yeah, that's the journey between me and transurfing.
So you said the last time that you were suggested to read a book, it took you a couple of years. So what happened with that? What was the book, and what did it take so long, and what happened after you realized it?
Do you know what it was? It's really, now that I look back, I'm like, why did I take so long? I read a lot of books. I read on average a book a week. And I had done for many, many years, for more than a decade. I've read that many books. And it was a woman that used to do my websites for my old business. She was like, oh, have you read You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza? I was like, no, I haven't. She goes, oh, you've got to read it. You've got to read it. I said, okay, cool. Left it. And then I think 6 months later, we're having one of our check-ins. Hey, have you got the book yet? No, I haven't. Make sure you read it. Okay. Then I was she was based in California. I was out in LA. We're having an in-person meeting before I went up to Vancouver. And she's like, have you got the book? I was like, okay, I'll get the book. And I ordered it there and then to go to my house in England. And then it took like another 3 or 4 months. She's like, I read the book. Okay, I'll read the book. And I read the book. It's like, oh, wow, this is a really good book. So I did that. And then I ended up going to one of Dr. Dispenza's events in Berlin. And that was what actually gave me the substance, that the work that I had been sort of musing with my own model, Beyond Intention. I was like, oh, goodness, here's the science that actually backs up what I've been working on. Oh, maybe it is real. Maybe I can talk to people about it. And then since then, I've not looked back. Wow.
So who knows what would have happened? I guess it's the way things were supposed to turn out, but who knows what would have happened if you'd done that just 2 years ago.
Honest, if I'd done it 2 years earlier, I probably wouldn't have gone to the event, because I started the practice of doing an in-person event or digital course every month that year. So that was the first year that I'd actually started doing it. So whenever I came across some information or found a teacher that I liked or an author that I liked, I always go to their website from the beginning of that year when I actually read it, and I would look for an event or something that they were doing. And that's how I ended up. I mean, now Dr. Joe's everywhere since then.
Yes.
This is 5-6 years ago. Now he's everywhere, and his events sell out in 10 minutes or something like that. When I went, there was like, a few hundred of us, and there was lots of empty seats, and now it's like thousands of people and it sells out in minutes. But yeah, who knows?
So you mentioned your work. Your work is in Beyond Intention. So
Yes,
can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Sure. So Beyond Intention is a 4-step model that came from my journey to just bringing my life back together. I came back from suicide, late diagnosis of Asperger's, losing £2 multi-million fortunes by the age of 23. And the process that I went through in rebuilding my life, I structured and formulated into what is now Beyond Intention. It's a 4-step process which teaches us to get back into personal power and personal responsibility, to be more at peace with ourselves, to own our simplicities and complexities as a human with love and compassion, and also to start connecting more empoweringly to the future that we want, instead of getting caught up with trauma of the past, stories, unconscious programs, just the tool that allows us to make the choice to have that abundant, joyful, purpose-driven life that we spoke about before.
Okay, so the idea then is mostly is to live now instead of worrying about or letting what happened before affect what you're doing in the present, and without really worrying about what's going to happen in the future.
It's not worrying about it, it's being deliberate and certain of what's going to show up because you've created it, rather than sort of running the gauntlet and seeing what's going to happen. It's saying, this is what I choose to create, and it's going to be this or better. So when things don't come, we're not beating ourselves up. We're just reconnecting to, hang on a minute, it's going to be this or better. I can actually celebrate that something even better is coming along. It's multidimensional. It looks at our emotional state, our mindset, our habits and behaviors, and creating more flow and ease and grace in our life. It's the topic of my best-selling book, Stepping Beyond Intention. That book goes into each of the 4 steps, what they are, how you can employ them, and apply it to your relationships, to your financial abundance, to your health, to your career, to finding your purpose. Really just an overall look of leveling up our lives.
So then that sounds like something that someone can use just about any time. If we're thinking about it in terms of people who are heading into retirement and they're not sure what's going on, they're not sure where they're going, how would you suggest that they step into this and start doing what needs to be done in order to live that purpose-driven life?
Incidentally, when I first started teaching my work, now I talk more about financial abundance. That's what I really focus on. People in my programs have made millions, they've made hundreds of thousands, they've created freedom, all of the things. But when I first started, actually, this is exactly the kind of person that I was working with. People that are moving through retirement, career change, moving from education to employment and career, people that are going through divorce, any life event that gave you the opportunity to create life on your own terms. Again, the opportunity. Not everybody looks at being made redundant as a positive, but actually it is, because you've got a blank slate, you've got a fresh start. So Beyond Intention was actually perfectly created for this kind of situation, because now you've got an open field to do what you want, an open field to actually connect with what you really want and to start creating life on your terms. So it's actually perfect for someone moving in retirement. Again, that's the kind of person I actually really wanted to help in the first place.
And so without going too deep into what you'd be doing as a coach or as a practitioner, can you talk about how you would help someone if they come in and they're feeling lost because their identity is gone, they've left their job, they're retired. What do I do now? How do I be me? And who is me?
And you've actually answered the first part of this question with the last question, which is, who is me? And one of the first things that we do is we take a pause and ask, who am I? Getting to know ourselves. So often people that go through midlife crisis, which is another kind of person that we've helped over the years, they get there because they spent so much time trying to live the life on other people's terms and doing so unconsciously. Then they hit this spot when they realize, oh my God, this isn't the life that I want to live. I've seen people try to torpedo career, try to torpedo family, because they're acting out from this place of just not being where they really authentically want to be. And what we found is that by getting to know you first, unapologetically, without shame, without guilt, then from that place of actually knowing yourself, start to love yourself, then start to expand that into the people, places and things around you, and start to have honest conversations and take honest action about what things are going to stay and which things are going to go against the backdrop of this new place. Now, for some people, that means that the relationship's going to go away, but you both were miserable anyway. So why not let each other be free? For some people, the career is going to go away, right? For some people, you know, I've had people that have done crazy and exciting things, and some people that have done quiet things. Not quite the same, but we had a woman that was in my Micro to Millions program, which takes people to a million, like I said, or beyond. And she got to like about 10 grand. She paid off her debts and she was free of any debt, and she had some 10 grand in the bank. And she says, "Oh, Dan, I want to quit." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, it doesn't really feel like quitting. I realized I'm actually really happy and I don't need any more money." She had a little business that was making enough for her to live. She goes, "I want to take this money, I want to go and buy a little boat, and I want to live in my boat and paint when I feel like painting. And the boat's going to cost me like a couple $100 a month to more, and then I just need my shopping. And I make enough to live like a queen on my boat, and that's what I want to do." And what's interesting is that she felt that she had to apologize for stepping into just living the life that she wanted to live. And so many people do that exact same thing. They're caught up so tightly in what other people are expecting of them that they don't actually take the chance to live what they want to do. And when people are going into things like retirement and having that opportunity, one of the first things that we want to do is get them knowing themselves enough and loving themselves enough to make the choice to actually choose them and what makes them happy first.
I think a lot of people are scared or would be scared at that idea because it makes you feel selfish. If you're, I mean, that's the way we've been taught, is that if you're spending your time thinking about what you want and how you feel, you're not thinking about the other people, and that makes you selfish, and that's wrong somehow.
But we can't give from an empty cup. And so many people are running around on empty because they're filling up everybody else's cups. But whereas when I'm full, when I'm whole, then I can be better off. You know, if you've got kids, if you're drained and you've run out of batteries because you've been running after them all day, how are you going to give them the love that they need? How are you going to give them the resources and tools that they need? Whereas when you have taken time out to self-care, to look after you, you're going to be so full up with love that you're going to be able to give them 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times more anyway. So yes, there are some, pardon me, things that will end up falling away, but those things weren't being served anyway. You weren't serving them by having them there when you didn't really want them there. And that's a hard thing to look at, especially when we're talking about relationships, when we're talking about career, when we're talking about these sorts of things. But again, you have to ask yourself, is my happiness more important than the facade that's not serving anyone here, me pretending that this is where I want to be, or this is what I want to do? And I'm sure that they'll find that the answer is no.
So does this, I guess this is probably a question you can't answer. Does this process take a long time? Like if someone is retiring and they're trying to make a better life for themselves, are they looking, 5 or 10 years down the road? Are they looking a few months? Or does it depends on how much work they want to do, I guess. And
it does depend. I mean, the particular coaching program that I do with people going through this process, we go through it over a 3-month basis. And that 3 months, we establish where they're at, what they want, what the blocks are on the roadmap. The roadmap executing may take some time, but we encourage people to move at a gentle pace and resourcing them to be able to actually go at the pace that actually works for them. So we work with people over that 3-month period. That's actually the longest time that I will work with anyone on a one-to-one basis. I think it's important to have a clear end. Far too often people that coach or that heal or that therapy, they've been working with someone for years. And I think people can sometimes get dependent on you. And 3 months is about the time where we can see, I've seen real change is happening around sort of the 2 to 3 month mark, but also it holds us both accountable to getting to an end result by a certain amount of time.
okay. So one of the things that you mentioned that you would be able to talk about is the frustration that people experience when they're doing things the right way, but things don't seem to be following the right path. They don't seem to be working out the way they should be.
So yeah, the Danism that I use is if you're doing everything right, nothing's going wrong. And I just want to invite people to remember that at this level of consciousness, at least, we don't see the full playing field. We don't see the whole landscape. But we often start to judge things based on our limited viewpoint. right? We can't see the conversations that are being had when we're not in the room. We can't see how what we're looking to create is actually coming together. We just see the evidence. But even the evidence that we're seeing is through our distorted lens.
Correct.
And so what I often invite people to do is to pause, drop your judgment, and just keep focusing on what you can do in the situation. What's going on with your emotional state? What's going on with your thought quality and your belief systems? What's going on with your habits and behaviors? If you're managing those and keeping them really focused, deliberate, and intentional, then even if things look shaky for a time, even if things like they're going off, eventually they have to come home to land. Because we always experience what we're a vibrational match to, we always get what we believe is possible, and the causation of our actions and our habits will always lead to an effect in our experiences.
So that's kind of like the analogy of the pilot and the airplane. You know, it might be off course all the time, but you're going to get where you're going because you look at things and you make the little corrections. So
Exactly.
Is there anything, I think people are going to be really interested in the kind of things that you can do and the way that they can help them as they're looking for, you know, solutions to where they are and where they're stuck in their life. Can you talk a little bit about the programs that you have, the coaching that you offer, that sort of thing?
Sure. So one of the things, like I said, we focus on right now is financial abundance, and people get a bit confused on why we focus on financial abundance. And that's because if money's off the table as a problem, then you've got more mental and emotional space to look at solutions. So often people are coming to different parts of their life, not knowing if there's going to be enough financial stability to keep them going. If someone spent a lifetime working, receiving a paycheck, being in a situation whereby that dependable income is coming in isn't going to be there, again, there could be some stuff with that. My mum actually, so funny, my mum retired about a decade ago and then got bored and went off and got a part-time job. got a part-time job and then promptly started complaining about the part-time job. But I understood what she was looking for is the dependability of that income, even though she had a government pension. She still wanted that dependability, and we've got people doing that all the time. So one of the things that we always do first is invite people to start looking at moving towards financial freedom. We've got our Micro to Millions program where we help people with that. We've got something called Financial Freedom in a Box, where we actually create a whole financial freedom package and manage it for you. Because then you've got just more space. You've also got more choice. When you're looking at writing the roadmap of what you want to do going into your retirement, for example, do you want it to be based on limited resources or more expanded resources? Do you want to be sort of hoping to get by? Or do you want to have a more expanded experience that actually leaves you better able to enjoy more of life? So many people have waited until retirement to enjoy life. They've been working hard. They've been saving. They've been putting things away, giving up on stuff, passing stuff over. Now's the opportunity for you to need to do that, to start putting yourself first, to start enjoying life. And I firmly believe that having financial freedom is the perfect jumping point to do that. And whether people want to be coached or they want to take part in a program or they want it done for them so that they've got the choice to go in and create what they want, then we've got the ability to help people at every stage of that.
So with that, a lot of people heading towards retirement are scared. Like what I've heard or what they've said to me is that I'm not going to be able to retire because I can't afford to. So your financial freedom programs, can that help someone who hasn't been saving all along or who doesn't have an 100%. Income coming in? Yeah.
So the way that Financial Freedom in a Box, for example, works is that we build out an entire portfolio of income streams. We've got specialists that build them out, specialists that manage them. We help with the bookkeeping, the accounting, and all of that good stuff so that you can just enjoy the income. There's literally not a finger that you have to leave. Once you've signed the paperwork and made the investment, there's literally nothing more for you to do. Maybe the odd bit of admin here and there, but we can actually get you a six-figure, completely passive income from the get-go. And that doesn't require you to have millions of dollars. It's actually comparatively very, very reasonable. And in some instances, we can even help people finance getting access to the program as well. There's different ways to do that. So my thing is that when we focus on solutions, not problems, generally speaking, we're going to be much better off in actually being able to make something happen. So my invitation to people is, reach out, we'll give them my email, my personal email address. They can drop me a line and we can have a conversation and see how to serve them. But ultimately, it's looking for the solutions, not the problems, and understanding that there is always an opportunity to move forward. we don't have to be a slave to the choices we've made in the past.
Perfect. One of the things that I mentioned at the start is that you're an author. Can you tell us a little bit? You've got a few books, I know.
Yeah, I've got a few books. So the books I think that they'll probably be most pertinent to your listeners will be The Dreamer's Manifesto, which is a motivational book, very short read. It's just about inspiring people to follow my catchphrase, which is dream with your eyes open. It's really inspiring people to really connect with what they really want to do, what sets their soul on fire, and give people that understanding that they deserve it and to really fire them up to wanting to go and get it. So that's The Dreamer's Manifesto. Another book that I think will be really great for your listeners is Stepping Beyond Intention, which is my book all about my 4-step model, where it came from, my journey to bringing it to life and how to apply it into their lives. There are other books, but I think in terms of where they're going to be at in their lives, these 2 books will probably be the most impactful and pertinent for them.
Fabulous. Thank you. And finally, you've got a website, your dreamwithdan.com, and you're available on Instagram. Is that correct?
Yes. Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, and pretty much everywhere. The same username as well, Dreamer CEO. Same username everywhere, Dreamer CEO. Yeah. Perfect.
Is there anything else that you'd like to say before we close things up?
Just, you deserve it, listeners. Like, you deserve to be making the choice now for yourself, the choice to be happy, the choice to live life on your own terms, and would love to have a conversation, completely no obligations. There's no, you're going to have a conversation and you're going to buy something. No, any advice or words I can give them to actually look at doing something off the back of this, I'd be happy to have a word, and I'll leave my email for them to be able to do that. It's just daniel@dreamwithdan.com. That's it.
Perfect. I'll make sure it's all in the show notes and everything is available to whoever wants it, and they can always reach out to me as well. Thank you so much for being with me, Daniel. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure that the listeners got a lot out of it.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And that's it for this episode of Beyond Retirement. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed it. Are you ready to start rocking your retirement? Head on over to www.beyondretirement.ca/rocking it and sign up to plan out your own roadmap for retirement. Don't wait till it's too late.